The dark web. You have all probably heard many horror stories about sites and services that lurk in the dark web. These stories speak about sites not available to our familiar clear web, where you can buy illegal items, hacking services, visit sinister violent sites, and much more. I decided to take a deep dive into the dark web to clear everything up, and I created an iceberg that I'll be covering today that covers almost everything relating to the dark web, starting with the more harmless and slowly creeping down to the more disturbing and deranged. This is the complete dark web iceberg explained. Tor, which stands for The Onion Router, is a browser that is used for anonymous browsing on the internet, and it's the primary browser for viewing the dark web. It's more specifically used to access .onion sites, which are sites that are hidden and not indexed by traditional search engines. Despite people associating it with the dark web, you can also access ClearNet sites from the Tor browser as well, just in case you want to be more anonymous while viewing ClearNet sites. It's also useful for people in countries that don't have access to certain ClearNet sites from where they live. The Hidden Wiki is argued to be a good start for people not too familiar with the dark web, as it's a directory of links and other tools to access the websites on the dark web. It has information on currencies and how to stay safe as you browse as well. They have categories on the Hidden Wiki as well that you can kind of use as a guide for all the fun things you want to get into. They even have a section specifically for dark web alternatives to clear web websites too. It is still a wiki, so anyone can change or update the page, so a lot of people actually argue against using it. In 2019, the CIA made a .onion version of their official ClearNet website that looks pretty identical to their ClearNet site. The reason why the CIA did this was so that people could anonymously share information with the agency. If someone felt like they couldn't inform the CIA about something important while using their regular browser, they could just load up the .onion version and feel a lot safer while informing them about whatever they wanted to share. There's also a site called SecureDrop that allows you to anonymously share information with large news and journalism outlets, such as the New York Times and the Washington Post. As you could imagine, the dark web has tons of pirating tools to illegally download media. One of the more popular pirating sites that used to be available on the ClearNet was called the Pirate Bay, which as of today has been obliterated by Google in a lot of countries, but it is available on the dark web in its original UI for people to use. There's also a ton of forums where you can ask for help or even request media that you'd like to see be available to pirate. There's obviously a ton of risk when downloading anything off the dark web, so I don't really think it's worth the risk to torrent Elden Ring when you're gonna get doxxed by Godfrey. Pretty much a staple for the rest of the entries on this iceberg. Bitcoin transactions are how you purchase or sell any service or product on the dark web. Bitcoin is a digital currency starting in early 2009 that uses a fixed supply of 21 million Bitcoin. As more demand for Bitcoin started, Bitcoin increased in value, and as of the time I'm writing this, a single Bitcoin is worth $57,000. As you browse sites on the dark web, you'll see products and services listed in the regular currency price with a Bitcoin converter next to it, signifying how much Bitcoin you'd pay for what you're buying. It's important to note that once you send Bitcoin, it is pretty much impossible to get it back unless the person you sent it to sends it back, meaning scams are pretty rampant throughout the dark web. People aren't usually leaving user reviews on their illegal things they're buying, so most of these marketplaces don't have a review system, so it's pretty hard to tell what's real and what's a scam. So yeah, even if you're using Bitcoin on the clear web, make sure you know who you're sending it to. On the dark web, there's tons of sites that allow you to purchase fake IDs that you can customize for any country or region. You can also purchase fake passports and bank accounts. The fake IDs are only a couple $100s, whereas the passports and bank accounts can run you up a few $1,000s sometimes. You can use generators too in case you're not creative enough to come up with your new name. This entry refers to the countless marketplaces on the dark web that host many electronics for an insane discounted price that you can buy using Bitcoin. I've seen gaming consoles, computers, and I came across a few sites hosting new Apple products. The Apple products listed are actually a pretty good deal, as most of them are half off of the current Apple website price. These sellers claim that they launder money by buying credit cards from Tor, and then they buy the products in bulk, as it's harder for the bulk purchases to be traced. I've never seen anyone actually receive these discounted items, so it could very well be a scam. But just in general, if you're sending Bitcoin, make sure whoever you're sending it to is legit, because once that Bitcoin leaves your wallet, you can't get it back. Miscellaneous documents refers to sites where you can buy customized forged documents for a range of prices. I've seen documents like COVID-19 cards, diplomas and degrees, specialty certificates like doctor certificates, and much more. I've also seen documents you can purchase that teach you how to forge these documents for yourself. Some pretty highly illegal stuff on this one. This entry refers to services on the dark web that claim they can hack different accounts such as emails and social media. The prices for these services range from $100 to $300 in most cases. However, if an account has something like two-factor authorization, I've seen services upcharging a few extra $100. Some services claim that they can even unlock iCloud accounts so that you can unlock iPhones that you don't have access to. The services I've seen for iCloud hacking in specific was around $1,000, which seems like a lot of money, but it is a pretty big deal if it's real, because Apple doesn't even unlock devices for any reason. They don't even unlock phones for law enforcement. There's also some services that claim if you give them money, they can remotely control other people's phones, like their Messenger or SMS, and their phone calls. But again, whether this one is real or not is completely up in the air. This entry refers to some of the counterfeiting services that you can find while browsing the dark web. I found a site, while only browsing for a couple minutes actually, where you can purchase different cash from different countries, and they claim that the cash passes the pen test and that the cash has multiple serial numbers. This cash does not work in ATM machines though, which is a common theme I found on all of these sites. They also allow a sample pack on some of the services that allow you to get a few different bills to see the quality before purchasing a larger order. The money seems to be cheaper the larger the order, with an order of $1,000 US being only $260 US. This entry refers to a few different sites on the dark web where you can gamble your Bitcoin in hopes to earn more Bitcoin. These sites are actually sort of hard to find, and I think it's because not a lot of people are dumb enough to actually do this. This is almost guaranteed throwing your Bitcoin away. There's also so many ClearNet gambling sites that allow you to post money in several different ways, including Bitcoin, so there's not really a big market for dark web gambling. Also, with how bad the Tor connection is, it probably would be hard to get large pools of people gambling on your site at once, so you probably wouldn't make a lot of money. Database leaks refers to services on the dark web that host all sorts of stolen data. On some of these sites you can buy stolen credit card data kits, stolen PayPal account information, stolen social media accounts, and much more. This site in particular claims to have stolen data to over 400 million Instagram accounts, which is insane if it's true. A lot of these sites are most likely scams, as it's pretty easy to scam with something like this. A lot of people that aren't familiar with the dark web have probably heard that their data can get stolen and posted and sold on the dark web. These sites would be those sites where you can buy that stolen data. You've probably seen this entry the most while browsing YouTube, as it's very trendy and attracts a lot of attention. The dark web mystery boxes house an assortment of different items, from alleged demonic and satanic items to random substances and other random things. The boxes come in different sizes and are posted for a pretty expensive price, although I don't really know if this one is real at all. Many of the YouTubers who make the unboxing dark web mystery boxes videos are making the boxes themselves, and it's really no secret. This one site I came across that claims to be real has a mystery box for $666 and claims that it's a demonic mystery box. I mean, come on. Segueing from our last entry, which hinted at alleged satanic items, the dark web has a few sites with services regarding satanic practices. This site in particular asks for money in exchange for spell words that you can use in your satanic practices to make pacts with Satan. Yeah. This one really seems more like a clear website than anything. It even seems like it'd be featured in my last video where I covered disturbing websites on the clear web. Mudahar of Some Ordinary Gamers has a really good, pretty long video where he goes over some of these satanic sites on the dark web. So for sure check that out if you're more interested in this topic. After this video, of course. This entry refers to a bit of a lore piece more than anything. The Silk Road started in 2011 and was created by Ross Ulbricht. It was the most popular dark web marketplace of its time and had a ton of illegal items such as drugs, weapons, counterfeit money, and hacking tools that you could purchase using Bitcoin. In October of 2013, the FBI shut down the Silk Road and arrested Ross, who was convicted in 2015 on charges related to drug trafficking, money laundering, and hacking charges. Since that, there's been a new version of the Silk Road that's almost always taken down year after year. As of me writing this right now, the Silk Road 4.0 is up, but it isn't nearly as massive as the first version. This entry refers to the various amount of chat rooms that you can use while browsing the dark web. There are specific chat rooms for pretty much everything, such as this fantasy chat room that I found, where as you could imagine is people role-playing their dark fantasies with each other. On most of these chat sites, you're paired with a single person or group of people, and it's very anonymous. There's no webcam chats like Omegle from what I've seen, as they're mostly text-based chat rooms. These chat rooms aren't monitored at all, and you can share pretty much any information from personal to even illegal. This entry refers to dark web sites that hack Nest cams or internal house cameras and sell the information to people that want access to these cameras. These people could want access to these cameras either to spy on the people or to talk to the people through the cameras if there's a microphone inside. The hackers get this information when the people have a weak Wi-Fi security in their home or weak security in their home cameras just in general. This allows the hackers to gain the login to these cameras, and then they can access the footage or whatever they want to do with it. Sorry to freak you out if you have one of these cameras inside of your home, but just make sure it's secure. This entry is pretty self-explanatory. It refers to all the different drug marketplaces you can find while browsing the dark web. Basically, on every marketplace that ships things to you, even if it's not specifically meant for drugs, will have at least some amount of drugs that you can purchase with Bitcoin. I found a site that sells all kinds of drugs called the Tom and Jerry store that uses the Tom and Jerry characters as a mascot for some reason. This site's been up for a while and even promises same-day shipping, which is kinda crazy. They got some Amazon Prime out here. You obviously purchase these items with Bitcoin, and I've seen the prices to be pretty cheap. I know for a fact that most of these sites, especially the Tom and Jerry one, are actually pretty legit, as there's countless stories of people talking about purchasing these items from these sites. Don't do that. Don't purchase these items. Stay in school. This entry again is pretty self-explanatory, referring to the several gun and firearm marketplaces that you can find while browsing the dark web. These sites provide photos of all the information about what you're inquiring on, and the prices are pretty cheap, again like with the last entry. A lot of the general marketplaces that you come across also house firearms or things relating to firearms like ammunition and attachments and things of that nature. I've never seen anyone claim these services to be real, so a lot of them might be scams, but I could see this one being legit. I don't even really know how a lot of these dark web vendors package and ship these things out to people. I guess they could use like double boxing and misleading labels, but I feel like there'd be more slip-ups. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of you have come across horror stories about the dark web while browsing social media or sites on the clear web. A lot of people make the dark web out to be this thing where as soon as you load up Tor, you are instantly shown the worst things imaginable and are tracked down by a stranger who doxes you. This is not true for the most part, but a lot of people like the stories and believe in them because of the dark web's mysterious nature. At least that's my theory. This reminds me of that Unfriended Dark Web movie that came out back in like 2018, which probably didn't help anyone's perspective, because it made the dark web out to be like this entity. Shout out Welcome to the Game. That game's pretty good, but again, it does not help the perspective on the dark web. This entry refers to the forum sites that you can visit while on the dark web. They look like regular forums, but the content and discussion is obviously much more disturbing. I talked about it a little bit in my last video, but Hidden Answers is one of the more popular ones, which is kind of like a dark web Reddit. These forums are mostly unmonitored, and you can ask questions about anything, illegal or not. Hidden Answers and another popular one called Dread are very similar to Reddit in the fact that they have an upvote and downvote system too, which is kind of cute, but again, they're talking about heinous things. This entry refers to dark websites that claim they can provide blackmail services on anyone that you give slight information of. You don't need dirt on any of the people you're trying to blackmail, because these sites claim that they can upload illegal documents such as NSFW content of minors, or even attempted murder plans to the people of your choice's computers, and then email them blackmailing them for money or whatever else you'd want out of them. Blackmail obviously isn't exclusive only to the dark web, and it's pretty easy to blackmail people anywhere, including the clear web. But the dark web adds a deeper layer to it, with these alleged hackers that can supposedly pin these illegal things onto the victims you choose. Poison pharmacy refers to sites on the dark web that host information about different poisons. These sites also sometimes include marketplaces where you can purchase different poisons. This site even claims they have a poison consultation service, which is just awesome. The prices, again, like most of these entries, are surprisingly cheap for what you're getting. Like, really cheap. You can give someone Scarlet Rot for like $20 worth of Bitcoin. Ah yes, one of the most popular things associated with the dark web. Hitmen services are surprisingly easy to find while browsing the dark web. Most of the sites claim to be run by ex-military or FBI or ex-mafia or whatever, and promise that they have a 100% success rate while also being completely untraceable. On a lot of these sites you can customize how you want to have the hitmen go about the service as well. These sites are most definitely government traps that wait for dumb people to try and place an order, and then raid and arrest that person for attempted murder. This is still one of the most infamous things associated to the dark web, despite having no proof behind it. If these services were real, they would not be this easy to find on the dark web. Like sure, it is the dark web, but there'd still be an extra layer to get to them. I found like 4 of these sites just from browsing for like 30 minutes. Another popular thing associated to the dark web, snuff films are porn videos that also involve someone that isn't alive. Either the person featured in the film is alive and then by the end of the film they aren't, or they weren't alive to begin with. This video is getting demonetized for sure. This one has some more truth to it than the Hitmen, as a lot more people have stories of coming across these films while browsing the dark web. There's allegedly some sites that also claim to have entire folders of these films that you can purchase with Bitcoin. Some sick stuff. Probably the biggest boogeyman thing on the dark web. Red rooms are claimed to be live streams of a person torturing another person. On these live streams, viewers can allegedly chat or donate, kind of like Twitch or YouTube streaming, to request different things happen to the victim. Sounds like an awful thing. However, Mudahar of Some Ordinary Gamers has several videos now debunking red rooms and explaining how they can't even exist on the dark web.
Let's say that a red room was to hypothetically exist, right, on the deep web. It would never exist on the deep web, okay? A good barometer to understand that is take Tor, download Tor, go to a speed test website, and see how dogshit slow Tor actually is. So the only way that it can work is, let's say that some group out there is actually running a red room, right? Well, they would have a group of people that they would pass a VPN software most likely to. The VPN software would connect, through encryption channels and directly to a virtual private network hosted by the actual, murderers or torturers in this session, and that would be used to distribute video properly across numerous parts.
I guess pre-recorded red rooms could still exist, however that would take away its name by definition, and it would just be a video of someone getting tortured, which, I mean, that seems way more likely to be on the dark web than an actual red room. Our final entry refers to the different cannibal services and tools that are available on the dark web. Some sites just have information regarding cannibalism, like preparation tips and recipes, but some sites claim to be a marketplace for human meat. These sites claim you can purchase human organs and meats that are prepared for you to eat. They claim they get these resources from a morgue and they are checked for disease and illness. The site I came across seems like a joke, but the prices seem for real. I'll let you guys know in 3 to 5 business days when my 7 pounds of human liver come in the mail. That was a joke, YouTube. Like the Hitman services, these sites seem a bit like they could also be a government setup as well. That was the complete Darkweb Iceberg explained. I'm probably on 15 different watch lists for making this video. Again, this video was for educational purposes, and I advise against viewing these sites. Don't be a cyber criminal, please. If you guys have anything that I missed, please let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for the support on the channel. If you enjoyed this one, feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel as it helps me out a ton. That's all from me. Have yourselves a damn good one.